live at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma, and it's the finals of the $150,000 Hammer Open. There you see the participants in match number 1, Brad Snell and Rod Pasteur, in front of a capacity crowd, tremendous crowds all week long here at Boulevard Bowl.
Been an outstanding tournament that Richard Altman has put on for us. What a tremendous host he's been to us all week long.
Players have raved about the treatment here this week. Edmond has rolled out the red carpet. Brad Snell, 27 years of age, out of Des Plaines, Illinois. First shot of the $150,000 Hammer Open, and he leaves a soft 7.
Right. Just didn't quite get the lift on that one that he normally gets. Didn't quite get it out on the lane enough, and a little bit of nervous shot. If he makes the spare, he'll sit down and feel a little bit better about the whole thing.
Brad has appeared on national television one other time. He was the top seed in this year's ABC Masters Championship on ESPN, and lost in the title match to Rick Steele-Smith. Bowled very well, though, and I asked him earlier today, did that help bowling on television one time nationally? He said, no question, I'm much more relaxed here this evening. And there's your first look, close-up wise at Rod Pasteur. Nearly won Rookie of the Year honors last year, and finished second in the Austin Open on the PBA Summer Tour.
Could have struck out in the 10th to win that tournament over Steve Cook and failed to do so. That's what he's been doing a lot this week. In fact, a lot of players have been doing that a lot this week. Rod Pasteur averaged 228 this week, 209 for 1987.
Yeah, that number will go up, obviously. On the television pair, Rod with games of 248 and 187, so he averaged 217.5.
He says that 248 sounds better to me.
Really a terrific young man, outstanding bowler. I know Dick Evans, the president of the Bowling Writers Association of America down in Miami, has more than once mentioned the fact that this young gentleman could end up winning a number of titles on the PBA Tour.
A little short, didn't get it out to his target. Right through the heart of the pins, leaves only the 4-pin. Anytime that you go through the heart of the pins and get 9 like that, make a big error like that, get 9, you really feel fortunate. And there we see this week's average in his high game, 279. We had a number of those this week.
Rod's match play record, 17 wins and 7 losses. Takes care of the single pin spare.
This young man coming up right now in the second round of the tournament came out with 279, 278, 269, and then 279 his first 4 games.
Averaged 276 for his first 4 games. For the round, only averaged 256.6, and he moved from 77th place to 4th after 2 rounds.
And that's a little bit of a move, Dan. And that's how he did it, just like that.
What did you tell me? How many strikes in succession did he throw, or how many out of 36 frames?
Well, we're going to take a look at his style right here. 5-step player. Now watch as he comes through the ball here at the end. He'll bend the knee. The ball is gone. Now watch him go down more after it's gone, and his hand is open. His left hand is open. It's kind of like a swan there. He's getting ready for a dive. Well, what he had done, Dan, the first 3 games of that, he had had 32 out of a possible 36 strikes, and he started off the next game with the first 9. Pretty good for a 27-year-old.
Wow. Only averaged 228.8 for the week. Obviously, you have to throw a lot of strikes to do that. And a big double for Brad Snell, who applies a little pressure to his counterpart early in match number 1.
Well, you don't shoot those 270 games without learning how to throw a lot of strikes. So Snell, once he gets it going, can just keep on striking. He has won 8 regional PBA titles.
Rod Pasteur with a business degree from Morehouse College. Trails by 10.
Didn't get out of that thumb clean. Just he's fighting his release a little bit now, talking to himself. Just a little bit of needing to settle down on the television show right now.
When you say fighting his release, in essence, what do you mean there, Mike?
Well, he's just, the idea, Dan, is you want to get that thumb out clean and lift firm with the fingers, and it should be a fast motion and clean. When you start to lose off the thumb or drag in the thumb, you don't get clean releases and you don't get good reactions with the bowling ball.
Highest finish this year was 6th at the Miller Lite Challenge just a couple of weeks ago in Tucson, Arizona. And he was nipped in the bud by Mark McDowell in the position round.
Oh,
Boy, what was it, 269, 267?
Right, he started that game with the first 7, got a couple spares, and got 3 at the end and lost.
Yes, the competition is fierce on the PBA Tour.
Trying to get back on track and doesn't. He's lost right now. He's just not making good shots. Leaves the 4-7. He's been fortunate not to wind up with a big split. He's playing right around the 3rd arrow. All the left-handed players are playing right around that 3rd arrow. The ball hooks too soon here, right through the heart of the pins. Breaks out that whole right side. Leaves only the 4-7. Switches balls to a plastic ball that goes much straighter to avoid the possibility of a chop.
Well, he's an excellent spare shooter, but he trails by 14. He needs to strike. Brad Snell leads at this stage. Rod Pasteur with an opportunity to cut Brad Snell's lead down to just 9 pins if he could strike here in the 7th.
We see he's had a decent year. Nothing. You have a year like that where you're grinding it out, and then all of a sudden you pop in a $27,000 first place, and it turns into a great year.
The old chart goes right to the top. Rod 3-3 career-wise in the championship round with an average of 215.5.
Getting into the second half of the game now. Oh, gave it right back. I mean, that's, I don't know if it's lack of experience or what inside of Rod Pasteur, but you just got to take advantage. Your opponent opens like that, you can't give it back to him. You got to step on him and get a strike right there.
Well, he started to give it the Toro wave as soon as he let it go. Back up, do anything, but don't hit the head pin. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Try and pick up now the 4-10. He'll give it a run. Ooh, come on over, and it doesn't quite get to the 10-pin. Nice round of applause, but that won't do Pasteur much good.
You got to hit it thin to slide it across, and he did. Use that plastic ball. He'll just nick the 4-pin. Hit it too thin.
Oh, come on, Mike.
And here's his reaction. Come on.
He hit it too thin. Jiminy Christmas. Boy, what a great shot that was. That could have changed the complexion of the match.
Right now.
Trails by 33 now, though. Had a golden opportunity there.
Sure did. 8th frame. He's getting fooled by the reaction on the lane. The ball's just hooking sooner than he thinks it should. Looks down at the approach, thinks, hey, I hit my target. The ball went through the nose. What's happening here?
Well, if worse comes to worse, Rod will add $5,000 to his 87 earnings.
At the 4-7. Has the spare.
I know Rod's parents were going to try and get to Edmond to watch him bowl tonight, but they couldn't quite make it, so I'm sure they're watching. Back home. Brad Snell, who a couple of minutes ago made a grave error in the 7th, opened up. Thought maybe he would be in trouble, but as he sat on the bench, he now ends up with a 33-pin lead.
Lost that ball a little bit. Gets a break. Leaves only the 2-pin. I have to turn all my thinking around this week, Danny, and start calling all these left-handed leaves here.
Well, you could get yourself a mirror. And then I'll be right-handed, right?
Right through the heart of the pins. Has the baby split up there for a second, but the 7-pin falls out. So relatively easy spare, and both bowlers right now are kind of fishing.
What would be going through Walter Ray Williams' mind on the practice pair right now, realizing that both of these left-handers are having trouble hitting the pocket at this stage?
I'll tell you, Walter Ray has a certain air about him, or certain almost cockiness, that I don't think he's afraid of anybody, much less of a kid that's appearing for his first time on national television.
Walter Ray Williams Jr. trying to become the first PBA champion to repeat since Ted Hannes did so in the True Value tournament at Peoria.
84 and 85.
It's so hard to do nowadays, isn't it, Mike?
And now that Earl Anthony's retired, yes.
Yeah, he used to do it about 3 times a year.
gave it room and almost had the 5-6-10 up there, and he's scratching the back of his head, and he says, well, let's get this game over with here and regroup.
Well, much easier to make the 5 than
the 5-6-10.
yeah,
yes.
something that's smiling back at you.
I looked at the track, and we've noticed the roll of his ball during the course of the week, and he does have a low track. You can see the ring of oil there a little bit shining out right by his index finger out there, and you can see how far away from the finger holes it is. And it's almost that far away from the thumb. That's called a semi-spinner type delivery. That type of delivery wants to bite the lane later down the lane.
Don't most of the professionals, Mike, employ what's called a high track, which would track high to the fingers and also the thumb?
Well, Walter Ray Williams, who's coming on next, does. He has a higher track, and Pete Weber, who's our leading money winner, is right next to the fingers and right next to the thumb. Yet he hooks the ball all over the lane. But his ball has tremendous hitting power.
Well, Pasteur trails by 32, has his work cut out in the 9th and the 10th. Could use a strike right here, and once again, right through the nose. And it's been one of those nights for the youngster from Miami, Florida.
And he just keeps trying to force it with more speed and more loft to get it in the pocket, and it's just not working.
Well, you can see he's a little disgruntled at this point. When you get into that position, Mike, do you feel sometimes as if you're making good shots and you're bowling well, you just can't get the reaction you want? Or do you question your ability?
Well, you have to understand whether it is your ability, whether it's you making an errant shot, or whether the lane is changing in its reaction, and you have to adjust to the lane. Earlier in the match, I thought it was Pasteur and the way he was delivering the ball. Now I think that he's picked up the speed, and he needs, well, it's too late now, but he just needs to move his feet to the right, maybe his target or border so to the right, get in a little deeper, get the ball into the oil, and get it to slide a little bit further down the lane before it breaks. He just gave that one more room, and the ball hit soft, almost rolled out by the time it got there. Well, that's one of the lowest games he's bowled all week, as he bowled 37 200 games.
And there's the head golf professional at Oak Tree Golf Club, Brent Goodger, who really one of the best friends the PBA has, giving the professionals a free run of Oak Tree Golf Club this past week. That's where they'll be playing the 1988 PGA Championship. And I can tell you from experience, those PGA pros better have their games in shape. That's a tough track.
Sure is a pretty place, though.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Should be a tremendous tournament. Well, Pasteur does about all he can, shoots 188, and obviously disappointed with the effort. And so he'll leave with $5,000, and Brad Snell will move on to bowl the defending champion.
Yeah, right now, Brad Snell can use the 10th frame to practice a little bit, Den, to try and get lined up for the defending champion and bowler of the year, the reigning player of the year.
Does anything go through your mind, Mike, when you bowl a defending champion? You realize, obviously, the player has tremendous confidence in his ability in that particular bowling center. Is it tougher to bowl somebody like that?
Yes, I think it is, Dan. I think there is a certain psychological advantage that a player that Walter Ray will have over Brad Snell right now. Coming in as the defending champion and player of the year, Snell's got to be just a little bit intimidated. I think he would be a lot more confident if he were lined up on this right lane right now, and he's got one more shot to practice on it.
Of course, you can look specifically at what Brad Snell accomplished last night, having to defeat Mark Roth, the great Mark Roth, in the position round game just to make the telecast this evening. He did so 203 to 175.
And you wouldn't have found one person in the entire building that would have bet on Brad Snell at the start of that game.
All right, back in the pocket, so a very solid start for Brad Snell of Des Plaines, Illinois. A 222-188 victory. And there's a look at match number 1. The $150,000 Hammer Open. Brad Snell with a 5-bagger. Really put the pressure on Rod Pasteur. Pasteur had an opportunity to maybe fight back and make it a very close match, but then through the split. So here we go for match number 2. Walter Ray Williams Jr. Snell will start on the left-hand lane. And after shooting 222 in the opening game and winning his first game in the PBA Championship Finals, I would imagine that Brad Snell is probably relaxed just a touch more. As Mike has already mentioned, he is a strike machine when he gets lined up.
And see if he can make some kind of an adjustment, as he did there.
Seemed to have moved out a little bit on the lane, huh, Mike?
It's possible, yeah. Maybe they can't move into and find a good reaction. They need to move a little left. Sometimes the reactions on the tour will fool you. What Walter Ray did, though, is as we see his 1987 average, almost 214, is he switched bowling balls right at the end of the practice session to something that a little bit harder and go straighter. He moved out, pointing the ball up more, just like that.
Looks like he has an excellent shot, too. The ball he threw in practice was one that he utilized throughout the week, and he said it was the ball that hooked the most for him all week long.
And it didn't seem to be reacting as well as he would have liked. And we see the whopping 232 average this week with a high game of 286.
Those are some big-time numbers. Oddly enough, Walter Ray Williams Jr., the only right-hander in the championship finals tonight, averaged the best on the championship pair. Games of 228 and 226 for an average of 227. He'd like to have at least that much here in the opening game. Likes the second shot and just throttles the pocket on the left-hand lane.
He seems impervious to pressure. You know, he just gets up there and freewheels in the arm and the swing and everything. You know, all that horseshoe experience, 4-time world champion, it's got to help.
And he's been working diligently. His horseshoe pitching. He'll be participating in the World Championships in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, coming up a week from Monday. 4-time world champion. Brad Snell would like to pitch this ball in the pocket if he could.
Right through the nose on the right lane again. He's just struggling with this right lane ever since about halfway through the last game.
Well, Snell threw 6 strikes in the opening game and looked pretty comfortable through the first 6 frames. Converts the cross alley spare. But I have a feeling you better not wait too long to get started. He trails by 10 because Walter Ray in the metallic-like pants. You like those, Mike?
Those are wild pants, aren't they?
I love them. Those are the latest issue from NASA, I think.
All the players were wondering if we were going to turn out the lights and see if he glowed. I mean,
I know one thing. He could never get through the airport with those metallic pants on. They'd have to stop him. Told me they were only $30 a pair, though, and he likes them. I'll buy a pair for you, Mike. Huh?
Oh, thanks.
Snell on the left-hand lane comes back strong. Well, I'll get your waist size from Debbie, your wife, somewhere along the way, and I'll surprise you for Father's Day, right?
I'm not giving my waist size over the air, I'll tell you.
Okay, Walter Ray back to work. And he's on a double.
Kind of bounced that one. Bounced it right in there.
It was a one-hopper to short, but it didn't make much difference on lane 34.
Watch his swing. Pushes the ball out. 5-step player. Swing comes back away. Now see how far away from his body? Now he brings it right back in, right here, straight through. Look at his left hand. Look at, I couldn't get my arm to go that way. He does it the same way every time. Well, I guess every time.
Same result, and you're looking at the PBA's Player of the Year, and that's why he has opened up in a very big way here at Boulevard Bowl with the first 4 strikes. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after this. And the man in blue is still red hot at this point. While we were away, Walter Ray struck in the 5th, and Brad Snell doubled in the 4th and then left the 7-9 in the 5th. So he trails by 44. There you see graphically where we're at. Nearly halfway home.
For 6. Oh, it fell! Oh!
Yeah, that ornery 8-pin sometimes doesn't want to go down.
Let's watch it here. Something nicks it. The head pin will hit the 2 and bounce to hit the 5. And then that was the head pin. I think they got it.
Yeah. The head of the head pin. There you see Walter Ray hoping for a strike. Yeah, there we go. Now Brad Snell is light years behind, but he may come storming back. Don't count this youngster out because he knows what it's like to win. But at this point, he's pretty much got to take it off the sheet, don't you think so, Michael?
He's still potential 246.
And then maybe borrow a few more frames.
But the way Walter Ray is throwing the ball, I mean, thinking 300 is definitely a potential right here.
Kind of amazing, Mike. Mentioned it just previous. Walter Ray threw a completely different ball and a completely different angle throughout most of the practice session. Made the change just prior to going on the air.
Well, the angle was similar. He just moved a little bit right with his feet and his target and pointed a little bit more, but it sure is working well.
Well, the mystery of lane 33, and it continues. One more. How about it? Brad gets up on his toes, but doesn't have any luck with the 7-pin.
Well, that happens. When you leave a 7-9 when you think you throw it well, the next shot has a tendency to creep a little high sometimes. Or at least when I used to leave an A10, that next shot would creep a little high. Of course, modern day players don't leave those A10s.
Spare conversion for Brad Snell, who defeated Rod Pastor in the opening match, 222 to 188. And then since that time has run into the defending champion like a brick wall.
Well, if he gets a couple more strikes here, it could start to get a little interesting, Dan.
I'm interested now.
Smooth release. Boy, is that pretty. He's just getting out of that ball so clean and so pretty. The thumb is coming out. He's lifting up with the fingers. Not much turn. Just putting it down on the same target every time. And the ball, it reminds me of Billy Hardwick's ball years ago. It's just setting up at the pocket. It's just dead flush hitting like a ton of bricks.
Walter Ray didn't want me to mention this, but he's been practicing horseshoes. It was 96 ringers out of 98 attempts earlier today. And he said, don't tell anybody because the other guys that are pitching against me won't want to know that I'm hot. He's obviously hitting what he's aiming at. Uh-oh, stood up on that one. He still ends up with a flush strike in the 8th frame. And Kevin Shippey, the publicity director for the PBA, is hustling for that true value check worth 25,000 big ones should Walter Ray take this off the sheet. Oh, my goodness. You can feel the tension now.
Right now, Brad Snell just wants to throw a couple frames and get out of the way and sit down and be a spectator.
That's right. It's clear out for Walter Ray. Fans oohing and eyeing and moaning. Obviously feeling for Brad Snell, who at this point in time is obviously bowling for 4th place in this event.
Well, it's a great experience for him. He's had a tremendous week. It's his first time in a championship round in a PBA tournament. First time in the 24-man finals. As great a record as he's had in the regional program, he just hasn't been able to translate that over. And it's a growing experience sometimes with these younger players. And boy, once they learn how to compete out on the national tour, then it just gets tougher for all of us.
And there you see Walter Ray Williams Jr. What is going through his mind as he keeps looking at the scoreboard, and that's exactly what he's looking at. Perfect through 8 frames. And Walter Ray has 9 career 300s to his credit. And boy, he'd sure like to make it 10 here this evening.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's my guess that Walter Ray is definitely going to hit the pocket. It's just a matter of whether he's going to strike.
That's a good point because he is such an accurate player. He'll hit the pocket. It's just a question of whether all 10 will go down. Well, we won't have to wait long to find out, will we?
He doesn't take much time, and he's not going to take much time all the way through these next 4 shots. Let's just hope that he can keep it going.
Well, I've got both my fingers crossed. The shoes are off and the toes are in that position as well.
Hold it, hit it!
Oh, come on. How about it one time? Well, that's a shame. Well, the 300 game goes awry, but Walter Ray Williams Jr. with a nice round of applause from the faithful here. Probably a little let down after that shot.
I'm sure he is, and he missed the pocket of all things. We didn't think he would do that.
We sure didn't. A little high, a little soft perhaps, but what the heck, he had 8 in a row. That's not too bad. He'll go on to win, obviously. We'll be right back.
Tonight on ESPN.
And if you're wondering why you're hearing all that applause, it's because Walter Ray Williams Jr. has now doubled in the 4th and the 5th, and he starts once again with a 5-bagger.
Well, he didn't do it last game. Maybe he can do it this game.
Boy, Parker Bone III wasting no time in unleashing that ball on the right-hand lane, and this has become a strike fest. But my goodness, his mother Jean and his sister Cindy have been watching strikes for many years out of their son and brother.
They know how to keep score, too, as all the bowlers back in Howell, his home bowling center, know. And right now they know that he's down by 45 pins. If he doesn't start stringing strikes, it may be too late already the way Walter Ray's going.
Well, he started with the first 8 last contest and shot 255, setting a blistering pace.
Better shot. Just gave it the room that time when he didn't the time before on lane 33. Just one shot. If he'd have struck in the 4th frame there, he'd be even in the match right now. He didn't strike. He's down 35 minutes.
That if is such a big word.
Yes.
Retrospect, you look back, and this guy looks back often in waves to opponents. When he gets out ahead.
He sure does.
He's a very aggressive player. Looking for 6 in a row. Well, he's halfway home again. He gave everybody a bit of a scare in the opening game. Of course, the good folks at True Value Hardware are offering a check for $25,000 to any player who shoots 300.
Well, can we maybe make it 12-5 with 6 in this game and 6 for the last game?
Andy Barapapa 300. That's got to be worth something, don't you think? Because Andy used to, if he ever threw 12 in a row anywhere in any games, would take a 300.
As long as it was 12 in a row.
That's right.
Counted as a 300.
Hey, listen, I don't blame him.
For 7. Oh, the solid 8 stands this time. He almost left it on the 7th one last time, and this time he did.
History does indeed repeat itself. Now, the thing I can't imagine is when you'll see his reaction here after he leaves the solid 8 again.
And he smiles. Now, watch it. Oh, he got in the way. We couldn't see it. It almost fell.
He'll smile. Watch. Oh, come on, he says. Well, he still has one more game if he wins this one, right?
Switches balls, goes to the straighter ball for the spare.
So he started with the first 6, but it was a solid 8 in the 7th. Nevertheless, Walter Ray is still smiling, and rightfully so. He leads by 44. Well, Parker Bone the third. Going to try and derail him here in the semifinal game.
Nice shot.
Boy, that shows you some true grit, doesn't it, Michael?
He better muster up more true grit in this next shot. He's got to keep the pressure on. He can't afford to miss. He's potential 255. That'll make Walter Ray sit up and get his attention a little bit anyway.
He's just kind of cruising along right at this point. Mike Albee studying both players from the practice position, and there is no cooler customer in the professional game than Mike Albee.
True. Absolutely. Give it a lot of room. Ooh, it came back. Wow.
You seem surprised, Mike. Of course, you used to give it that kind of room.
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
you?
all the time. I was used to swinging it out there and watching it bank back.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, these two professionals are putting on a show here. I couldn't think of a greater place to have it. Boy, the folks here in Edmond, Oklahoma have just been terrific all week long.
24 pins. Well, believe it or not, as great as Walter Ray is bowled, if he doesn't strike on this particular shot, Parker Bone can strike out to make him double in the 10th frame to win the match.
And that's the world of professional bowling. Usually comes down to the 10th frame. How'd you like to be going at a 279 clip and wonder if you're going to win?
He says, the heck with that solid hit and leave that solid 8. I'll swish him out of there.
That's the first time we've seen that rip-rack shot from...
He just wanted to show us that he can carry all the different hits. He doesn't have to stuff every shot. Parker's in the old must-strike situation, and he must. If he doesn't strike here, he's not going to have any chance to win. Boy, I'll tell you, the kid is responding. He's showing me something here, and his mother and sister have every right to be proud. He can strike all the way out for 255. That would force Williams to mark in the 10th frame and maintain a good count. He'd have to fill 17 pins in the 10th frame if Parker goes all the way.
Well, he's got a 5-bagger right now. Made just one mistake. 4-6-10 split in the 4th frame. Other than that, he's in excellent position.
And he chose to finish on the left lane, the one that he says hooks just a little bit more. Gave it room again. Boy, and it came back solid.
Oh, my. This is what it's all about out here, because at one point in time, it looked as if Parker Bone was headed to the paddock area with a 3rd-place check, and now he's fighting for his life and maybe for a shot at Mike Albee.
Amazing. He was down 44 pins back in the 6th frame, and all Walter Ray has done is leave a solid 8, and suddenly, if he strikes one more here now, it's going to be 4 pins. Oh, boy. You can't bowl much better than this young man has bowled. Woo! That is impressive.
That was Flush City on lane 33 as Walter Ray got up and moved from the left chair to the right chair. He might be feeling a little uneasy at this point.
He doesn't look like he's too bothered. Now watch this, under pressure. Over that 3rd arrow, gives it room out to about the 10th board, and it roars back in there just perfect.
Anytime you see those pins spinning like that, like a top, boy, you know you've really nailed them.
Full count. He needs a full count. Is it going to fall? No. 254, meaning Walter Ray must fill 16 pins in the 10th frame in order to go on to face Mike Albee.
Tremendous comeback for the youngster from Freehold, New Jersey, who assembled a 7-bagger. Walter Ray Williams shooting 255 in the opening game with 8 strikes. And he's right on track once again this game with 8.
Right there. Solid 10. He must make it. And we saw J.B. Blaylock, the opening show of the year, miss the 10 pin to allow Dick Weber to win.
Walter Ray Williams Jr., a very accurate player. We've mentioned a couple of times he's a world-class horseshoe pitcher, and he normally hits what he's looking at. But the pressure is on right now. It changes the complexion of things when you need a spare to win.
Dead center. That's why they call him Deadeye.
Great shot, really. It looks so easy, but Mike, you've been in that situation many times. When you need a spare to win, sometimes it's tougher to make the spare than it is to throw a strike.
Well, my heart always beat a little faster than his is beating. You know, right now he still needs 7 pins in order to be a winner. 6, we would have a tie.
Well, he started with 9. Didn't like that.
Right. He said, hey, I need all 10 of them up there right now.
Well, actually, you'd rather start with less, wouldn't you?
No, I want 10 of them if I need 7.
That's got to shake you up a little bit.
That's enough right there. Oh, he's just bowling outstanding.
Well,
Albee better be ready.
255 the first game, 258 the second game. What a match that was. 258 to 254. And the title match is coming up next. Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Mike Albee out of Indianapolis, the tournament's top seed. He's been red hot all week long, and boy, I hope it continues. Just now joining us, Brad Snell defeated Rod Pasteur in the opening game. And then Walter Ray Williams made short work of Mr. Snell, 255 to 189. Then a very close semifinal match, Williams and Parker Bone III, 258-254. But now let's move on to the title match of the $150,000 Hammer Open, being contested here at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma. And there you see the tournament's top seed, Mike Albee out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're still watching.
A practice shot. I wasn't sure of it myself until our producer told me. But he's allowed, when he comes over to bowl, he's allowed 6 practice shots.
I want to make mention of the fact that tournament director Tom Jenkins and promotion director Tony Sellers here at Boulevard Bowl just did an outstanding job at organizing this event this year. And we'd like to thank both of those gentlemen and wish them the best of luck. In 1988, they're looking to do things in a bigger and better way here. And there you see Richard Altman, the proprietor, one of the most progressive proprietors in the United States. Really has done just a fabulous job with this event, and just has made it a pleasure for us to cover. And I know the players have really enjoyed it.
And the amateurs, too. He had it Pro-Am. Albee leaves the dinner bucket on the first shot of over 1,500 entries in the Pro-Am, and that's just outstanding. And he did that last year. We see Albee averaging the highest for a left-hander on the PBA Tour, 215. He's 27, as 3 of the players on our telecast tonight are. Walter Ray Williams is also 27.
Very tough start indeed for Mike Albee. He leaves, as Mike mentioned, the dinner bucket. It's not exactly what you want to leave on your opening shot.
And Albee, unlike some of the players, doesn't throw real hard and straight at it. He more or less shoots his normal ball speed and angle. He moves right and makes it. He did straighten it out a little bit. It didn't quite turn it as much as he normally does.
Mike, the bucket isn't something you necessarily shoot in practice, is it?
Well, normally, when the players are bowling in practice for the television show, they're shooting only at the second ball. So you don't get the dinner bucket set up there. So they shoot sometimes at what they think it is, but you can't really tell.
It's a little different when you're shooting in a full rack. There you see Walter Ray Williams Jr., who has started both games with a flurry, and oh my goodness, he has just been as solid as a rock here this evening.
I mean, it's just, this game's monotonous to him. It's just like pitching horseshoes. He just ringer, dead-eye.
He was practicing earlier today, 96 ringers out of 98 throws. You know, that's probably almost as good as Bob Lee and John Sanders could do back at Sports Center.
Almost as good.
Probably. You know, Bobby Lee would probably be, what, 97 out of 98 probably. And, of course, you'll be joining those gentlemen right at the end of this championship match for the latest in the world of sports.
Oh,
Come on,
he gets the break.
4. And he can't believe it. Well, my goodness, Michael, he left the solid 8 after a 6-bagger last game on that lane. He deserves a break.
just a hair soft with his shot. Not as much speed. And watch the 2-pin third from the left, Eddie. It says 4. I want to nudge you over. Walter Ray holding his behind.
Praise the Lord, he said, and the 4-pin fell. Soft 7 for Albee. He's going to have to look deep down inside and kind of put Walter Ray out of his mind, don't you think, Michael?
Well, I tell you what, what's going through my mind right now, and I don't know what is going through Mike Albee's mind, is this soft speed that Albee has, and he's used all week long, doesn't seem to be getting the best reaction for the left-handed players on today's pair. The only left-hander that really bowled well was Parker Bone, who throws it much harder than any of the other 3 left-handers that are on the telecast tonight.
Albee will have to try and make the adjustment on the fly, as it were. Walter Ray isn't going to wait for him to catch up.
Walter Ray has done what you always want to do in match play competition, and that is get out ahead of your opponent early and put the pressure on him or her. And there we see Albee's fantastic average. And right now, he'd say, I'd take that 236, but it may not be enough the way Walter Ray is bowling tonight.
Mike with an average of 215 even on the television pair in 2 match play games this week, games of 232 and 198. You see a look at the earnings.
And we might mention, as you see that career earnings of $697,000, that no matter what he does tonight, he's going over the 700,000 career mark.
Well, there's the adjustment and gets a wall shot, and boy, did he needed it. Came just in time.
He needs to get something going because Walter Ray has opened, well, 2 successive games with 6 in a row.
And there you see the past 2 bowlers of the year in this title match. Last year, Walter Ray Williams Jr. 1985, Mike Albee, and Mark Roth just missed the telecast. We might have had 3 former bowlers of the year on one show this summer. Oh, my goodness.
Well, having 2 of them in the title match is as good as you could want.
Yeah, and this guy's been as good as you can get. Oh, right back in the pocket again. Flush City for a man from Stockton, California.
Now watch and see, Dan, on lane 33. Walter Ray, I think, adjusts speed better than any player on the PBA Tour today. And let's see if he picks up that speed just a hair to adjust for that 4-pin rather than moving with the feet. He's looking down at that approach, though.
Walter Ray Jr. or Walter Ray Williams Jr. with an average of 256.5 in 2 games thus far.
He's pretty, isn't he?
He is absolutely perfect through 4 frames. As a matter of fact, he started with the first 4 or better in all 3 games as he lined up. Geez, are you kidding? We'll be back with more right after this.
And Albee's dealing with a great deal of pressure. He better strike here in this 4th frame or this match could be over early.
Well, he needs it for a double. How about it?
That's it.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched this young gentleman win the PBA National Championship back in 1979. He beat Earl Anthony, and you do it by throwing strikes like this.
See his hand, his ring finger, or little finger. Now it tucks under on the way down. He has it flat on the ball and starts, and it tucks under on the way down. Look at this nice slide. Look at this steady head. Kind of tilts it to the left a little bit right at the last second.
Said he learned that from his bowling instructor about the 3rd or 4th year that he started to bowl, and it's just a reflex. He doesn't even think about it when he does it. It works.
Hey, 200,000 in 1 year, 700,000 career, and he's not even 28 years old yet. Better hurry, hit it. Oh. Blowout 10. He gives this one a little more room. There's it, the little finger. See, now it tucks under. He doesn't start it that way. It's amazing. Gives it room over the 3rd arrow out to about the 9th board. Comes in light, and the 5-pin. The ball just didn't finish strong enough to hit the 5-pin hard enough to get that 10-pin out of it. Hurry! Oh, and he missed it. Oh.
You don't see him make a mistake like that very often. He knows it. He has thrown the door wide open, and Walter Ray Williams Jr., I have a feeling, may step through, lock it, and throw away the game. And become the first player to defend his championship in a couple of years out here.
I can remember going to watch a PBA tournament at Kona Lanes back in 1964, 65, watching Glenn Allison start 3 consecutive games with the first 5 in a row. And Walter Ray here, if he gets a couple more strikes, can start 3 consecutive games with 6 in a row. There's 5.
Well, how about a 300 game and the title, which would be worth $52,000?
That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, I like to think big.
Walter Ray says, hey, why not, Denny? That's a good idea.
I'll tell you what, if he shoots 300, excuse me, you know that Bob Lee and John Saunders are going to roll some highlights of this guy shooting 300 tonight on SportsCenter, aren't they?
If he shoots
They
300,
might show.
I'm sure.
They might show all 12, maybe an extended version.
For 6. Tie.
Well, so much for that idea.
We ended that in a hurry, didn't we?
Well, Bob and Johnny are off the hook. But nevertheless, stay tuned. SportsCenter follows the Hammer Open in a couple of minutes. And boy, those two gentlemen have probably been busy all day long with the festival and everything else that's been happening. There you see Mike Albee. And at this point in time, trying to pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Has the 3-6, no problem. Changes balls. Just not there for Mike Albee tonight, and boy, it's getting right now. If he makes this and strikes out to the last ball, he can wind up at 236, which has been his average all week long. But the way Walter Ray is going, he's going to 238 pace right now, and it looks like he's going to get more.
The thing that's amazing, Mike, is how this game changes from day to day. Now, Mike Albee opened this tournament with a 6-game block of 1555. Now, that's 355 pins over for 6 games. Translated into layman terms, that's an average of 259.1 for the opening 6 games.
My entire career, I never bowled 6 games that high. Never.
Well, this was the highest 6-game block that Mike has ever bowled in PBA competition. So he got off to a very quick start, and obviously would like to finish quick. But boy, he's got his hands full here this evening.
Got it out there, and it finished harder and went through the nose, and that's a reaction that all of the players that have been soft tonight have had on both lanes.
I know a lot of the fans at home are saying, well, geez, why doesn't he adjust? Why doesn't he move? But it's just not that easy.
He is probably adjusting. He is probably making little moves and stuff. I mean, this is where he played all week long. This is probably the same ball that he used either in the morning or one of the rounds all week long. And it's just not getting the same reaction that he's had, obviously.
Well, I'll guarantee you one thing. Mike Albee will fight and scratch right down to the final shot.
Walter Ray, if he wins tonight, will join Brian Voss, Kent Wagner, and Randy Peterson as 2-time winners this year.
And he will also rack up 27,000 and put him 99,000 plus for the year. Well, when it goes right, it all goes right. You saw Walter Ray stand up on his toes. He realized that shot was going high, but he kicked out the 4.
He tripped out the 4 twice. He's done that in this game.
Little ballet move here.
And he says, oops. Look at the eyes.
You better go down. Up by 44, and he's feeling rather comfortable at this stage. Boy, what a direct contrast to last week's title game in the Austin Open. Kent Wagner and Philip Ringer went right down to the final shot. You just never know what's going to happen in PBA competition.
Well, it's just we've got a blowout here, and what are you going to do? Albee's going to get up there and try his best to finish out with 224, but it's not going to be enough. Walter Ray has been in the driver's seat since the first ball against Brad Snell. And he says, why can't I do that every time?
Well, I just have to wonder with Mike's thoughts back in Sacramento this week, his mother-in-law. Obviously recuperating, but his wife Tammy has been gone all week long, and it's amazing that he was able to lead a tournament, you know, with
that kind of distraction.
Sure,
right?
let's face it.
Well, you're talking, this is a class young man
Oh.
right here. He's just one of the real quality people that we have on our PBA tour. Tremendous representative of professional bowling. To stay alive, and he's no longer alive.
Mike kind of chuckling to himself, puts his head down, and he has a lot of pride, this young gentleman, and right now you can see he is really struggling with what's happening out there, and he's just going to have to do the best he possibly can. He's thinking, now wait a minute, that was supposed to go high, and it didn't get there.
Well, see, he went high the last time on that lane.
Sure.
He obviously made some kind of adjustment, and the reaction was the exact opposite. Skidded out on him, leaves the 3.56. And as the players say right now, he has the old Y shot, light or high. And we've all experienced that humbling feeling, and bowling can humble anyone.
Mike Alby's best possible 204, but the metallic and blue of Walter Ray Williams Jr. streaking towards it. Geez, he hasn't left many 10 pins. Had to pick one up to beat Parker Bone III.
That's the only other one he's left besides this one. And he says, I don't care right now. I'm going at a 247 pace, and I'm going to make this 10 pin and have no trouble.
He will become the first player since Ted Hannes to repeat. And as Harry Golden, the PBA's national tournament director, mentioned in his warm-up, he will be the only champion this tournament has ever known. Right? He's won 2
He
in a
may
row.
win it every year. And won 2 titles now. I mean, what people don't realize is he won the first Miller Lite tournament, and in the next tournament, he goes high, leaves the 610. If he won the second one, he would have had won a $50,000 bonus. And he shot 258 and lost with 10 strikes.
Well, he's obviously won this one, regardless of what happens, because he got 225 in the 9th. Possible 240 game. Picks up the spare, so Walter Ray Williams Jr. is the winner of the $150,000 Hammer Open. It wasn't quite as exciting as a year ago, but I'll venture to say that Walter Ray will sleep tonight and say, geez, I liked it the second time. It was much easier on my nerves.
Right. It's not as fun for the fans, but the bowler likes it a lot better that way.
Great shot and just tremendous bowling. Mike Albee quickly up off the bench to handshake Walter Ray Williams Jr., who captures the $150,000 Hammer Open for the second year in a row. I think he likes it in Oklahoma. This has been an ESPN presentation in association with Bud Sports.